Today, we're just going to follow Scott's lead. That's a dangerous place to be. It's like, I don't, if our leader doesn't exactly know where we're going, where can we be headed?
Straight to hell.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to bring religion into it.
Hell is.
No, I think it leaves the possibility open for surprises and interesting detours when the leader doesn't know exactly where we're going. Or I should say the leaders. This is a co-piloting affair.
No. You've always been the leader.
That's why we put the Scott before the Karl on the show.
Amen. And that was my idea back in the day.
Oh, well, I appreciate it because the branding has really helped. Well, we should probably welcome the audience to the grand return of the Scott and Karl show. Everybody has been waiting anxiously to hear us.
New and improved.
Yeah, we've been improving, and it's not like we've just been on vacation. We're back and better than ever, I think.
I've been studying abroad.
Yeah. Which one?
The one sitting on the couch over there.
So I think we should maybe reintroduce a little bit of who we are and what this show is about. I personally know Karl, that we went to high school together. We're not going to talk about what years. We're Gen X and millennial. We're right on the line there. Technically,
I'm Gen X, you're millennial, but you're like, I'm super, super late Gen X and you're super, super early millennial.
I think I'm one of the first millennials that popped out.
Probably.
In the new year, the year was 1981, and we were leaving Gen X behind. And 20 days into it, not only were we inaugurating one of the Republicans' favorite presidents of all time, but my mom was putting up a struggle with me all day long in the delivery room watching his inauguration.
Excitedly.
And 18 years later, Scott and Karl are on the radio in high school. And this is, I think I was always the California kid that had moved over to Texas. But still, I spent half of my life and really the formative years in Central Texas.
Yeah, and I think I was too young to hold that against you, being from California.
Well, it was before we really had these lines of division that we do now at a certain age, not us personally, but in the country. I think you get a little older and you realize, wait, I'm not supposed to like or get along or understand that person. I just thought everybody thought that I surfed. That was the main difference.
I don't think I ever thought that.
Well, there you go, fact checking me.
No, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to have to be nice. Our classmates, I'm not going to say what I was going to call them. I'm sure a lot of them probably did. I don't know. I just never got the surfer vibe from you.
Well, one of these days I'm going to have
show.
Yeah. There's even a smaller school than the one Karl went to, was the school I was at before coming to the big city of Brady, Texas. So maybe, Karl, am I more rural than you, even though I live in Los Angeles today?
Probably.
I literally grew up on a ranch.
Yes, and I grew up in a town.
Yeah, you city boy, you city slicker. That's how I saw all of you people in town. You just walk to the store. You didn't have to drive 20 minutes to get groceries.
It was awesome. Although back then we drove 45 miles to get groceries.
Oh, you guys went up to Brownwood.
Yes. Before Brady was blessed with a super center.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got our groceries in Brownwood too, but we were halfway between those two anyway.
Right.
Well, why this brings us to the most important part of this show is, why are we needed? There's a lot of voices. There are other podcasts. I know we like to ignore them. And Karl, I don't know how many of them you listen to.
Zero. But I don't listen to our competitors.
No. Why? Give them listens.
Oh, yeah. They're making money. We're doing this out of the kindness of our heart to bless and entertain our listeners.
and ourselves.
Yeah, mainly ourselves.
But why do we put our voices out into podcast world? That's a question I think we've both been pondering on our break.
That's a great question. And I will say for me personally, just the interactions we've had the last 2 or 3 or so years that we've done this, it's opened my eyes to different perspectives. It's made me change the way I think about certain things. And hopefully, if anybody does listen to us, it's doing that for them as well. So that's why I enjoy doing this.
Well, I just
and I
want
get to hang out with you for an hour or so.
Well, likewise, Karl. I want to steal your answer, and yeah, I like to learn different perspectives because we all just have our one life, and we're just getting all the experiences that we have going from point A to point B. B being death, I guess. This got morbid. But we just know what we're told and what we experience. And sometimes it's hard to get other people's perspectives unless you talk to them about their experiences and all of the things that they've seen and talked about and heard and learned. And I think that's why I'm drawn to podcasts to begin with. So when we started talking a couple of years ago, it was like, I don't know, like this door to my previous, I don't want to say previous life. I'm still the same person, but I have been surrounded by urban sprawl and
almost a lifestyle. I mean, you are in a completely different lifestyle from Placid to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. I still go back and visit, and I still feel at home on the ranch. And as girlfriends point out, all of the cobwebs and dirt, and I looked around and I said, wait, what? Oh, I guess I did grow up in and my parents will remind them, it's a ranch, damn it, it's gonna be dirty.
Right. And you should be out here now after the last 3 months of 110-degree days with no rain, and there's dust and dirt everywhere. It's crazy. I'm
sitting it out for now.
How are you surviving with the floods?
I have been softened by California temperatures, I would say. Yeah, we get our own crazy weather out here on the West Coast, and we got our first hurricane.
And is that the first hurricane you've been a part of since you've been there?
I think the first hurricane that the West Coast has seen since 1920.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
And before that, ever recorded, because they go east to west. And so usually the West Coast doesn't have to deal with it. But yeah, weather report wise, we did fine. I put sandbags in front of the garage and the back patio door because we go uphill. So who knows, that could have flooded coming down.
Sure.
I heard that the whole tropical storm actually, instead of going east, actually came right over LA and was over Dodger Stadium for a little bit, which is very close to where I live.
Well, and that's what I was curious about. I saw an aerial photo of Dodger Stadium, and it looked like it was pretty flooded.
Yeah, well, I wasn't in Dodger Stadium, luckily. I was sitting on my little hilltop. I'm not on the top of the hill, but I'm on the side of the hill.
Don't lie, Scott. You overlook everybody in the greater Los Angeles area.
I just pretend everybody I can see downhill, I just look at them, and it makes me feel better. You look down on them. Yeah, but I don't look. The secret is don't look uphill, because then you feel like you're at the top, as long as you don't turn around.
You know, that's pretty smart thinking.
These are life lessons that you can look forward to on this season of the Scott and Karl Show as well. Don't look up, only look down on people, and you'll feel better about yourself.
And there's nothing wrong with feeling good about yourself.
Well, so what we're here to do is to kind of, I think, share perspectives that sometimes get misinterpreted in mainstream media. And you get a lot of people acting like they can't communicate and they can't talk across state lines and party lines and whatever lines that you want to have drawn. And so part of that is that they don't have relationships across those lines. And that's why I think we're in like a perfect position to have conversations because we have this relationship that's 20 plus years old.
Yeah, it's plus for sure. I'd say it's probably getting closer to 30.
And somehow I'm the only one that went gray so far. I don't understand that.
Well, next time we're around each other, I'm starting to get it. And I'm not happy about it.
I don't want to hear where your gray hairs are, Karl.
They're on my sideburns, and when I can actually grow facial hair, they're in my goatee.
So the year that you
shave all the time now.
The year that you get to grow facial hair, finally it comes in gray.
Yes, and I'm not happy.
That is not fair. You should have had at least 1 year to have that full beard.
Well, I still can't even get a full gray beard.
We'll get there.
42 years old, and I can't even grow a beard. It's sad. Maybe when I die, I'll have a beard. If I live another 42 years.
Yep, we'll still be recording. I'm debating putting this on the video platform known as YouTube at some point, because I think that we could gain more listeners and viewers if they could see our gray hair and know, not just from our voices, but the gray hair shows how wise we are.
I agree. I was talking with Marissa about that earlier. And I think we do need to do the video platform. And maybe even put a couple of clips on TikTok.
I'm going to leave the TikToking to you because I do not participate in the TikTok.
I know, it drives me insane.
I know, Karl, you've sent me so many good TikToks, you and Aaron both, and I'm not clicking on TikTok because it's a rabbit hole for me, and I know this addictive personality is going to come out, and I'm going to be TikToking for the next hour.
Oh, dude, it's insane. I was against it. A lot of our friends from around here were always like, "Oh, did you see this on TikTok?" I'm like, "I'm not downloading TikTok." As soon as I did, I can sit in there and just watch TikTok for hours.
That's the point.
Yeah,
that's why it's something that I have to avoid.
I will say there are some hilarious people on TikTok. So,
yourself included?
I've yet to post a TikTok. I just watch.
Karl, it's time to tick, or it's time to talk. What are they?
Well, Scott and Karl are going to TikTok.
Yeah.
You tick and I'll talk.
That sounds good. All right. So we're going to try to approach episodes now with a little bit of a format. One thing that Karl brought up, or I brought up, because I said we're going to name this episode.
We're going to do it on the very first one. Let's do it.
Might as well, because we can jump on the bandwagon and get some clicks just based on a name recognition alone of a very popular song at this time. And I'm not sure that we can play it without being sued. So don't you get too crazy.
Well, I don't know how that works because he's an independent. No, I don't.
Who knows? We'll see what happens. Like what income from the Scott and Karl show could they come for?
Right. I mean, maybe our houses, but it's not my name.
And then Marissa can just say, I don't know him.
I'm not married to him.
Nope.
Maybe she'll finally understand when she's always saying something about her husband and I get all paranoid, like, you're married? I like to do that to her in public.
Mm-hmm.
The looks we get. But yes, go ahead and
do you ever see, I don't know, but this is probably on TikTok as well, but all of these reaction videos to any sort of song or any sort of thing that comes out, 1 million people post their reaction to it. I have mixed feelings about reaction videos in general.
Okay. You don't want to be part of TikTok. I will say you are on Instagram, and I'd say at least 95% of the videos that I see on my Instagram feed, I saw on TikTok a few weeks before.
Oh.
So
I'm just watching yesterday's TikToks.
That's right.
All right. Well, who knows? Maybe I would have found out about this song earlier if I had just been on TikTok, even though Oliver Anthony wrote and posted this song on YouTube originally. I think that's where it debuted. And what, Karl, from your perspective, because here we are. I can say reaction videos or whatever. There are too many of them already, but forget it. Let's do another one. This is Scott from liberal whatever Los Angeles and Karl from deep in the heart of Texas.
Super conservative.
We're reacting to the song Richmond, North of Richmond by Oliver Anthony. Let's just do reactions. That's what we're doing. I'm sure you heard about it first. What was your initial reaction to the song?
My initial reaction was not, and me personally, was nothing like what seems to be coming out of it with everybody else. Like the reactions I see on TikTok are, oh, the Rights have their new anthem. And, I didn't take it as, what I took it as is this man is singing what he feels. I don't think he's necessarily taking a shot at one side or the other. I think he's calling both sides out. Like he's calling the government out, pretty much, get your crap together. That's what I took out of it. And
we can dive into like lyric by lyric a little bit on some specifics, but overall, that's what you heard.
Yes. Not once has that song affected me. And I will say, yes, I'm more conservative than liberal, but I am more liberal now than I have ever been. But I didn't take that as, for me, I don't know, it didn't strike a chord with me because I am more conservative. It struck a chord with me because Democrat or Republican, and my beliefs, my personal beliefs, both of them are failing us. I mean, so that's what I took it as, is our government is failing the people that they work for.
Yeah. And then of course there were, like you said, the voices that want to
they want to turn the song as something that it's not.
Adopt the song as their anthem.
Or, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a lot, the turning everything into racism, or, well, this line is racist. How? Oh, well, then I've heard some stuff like, and I haven't looked up the facts to fact check this, but I saw something yesterday or the day before that since he's done that, he went to number one on all the streaming platforms.
Number one, no kidding. I even checked. He's like top 10 in Canada.
Yes. And how much money he's getting like per day off of this now. And people are trying to call him out for that now. And I'm just like, with social media today and everybody on the face of the earth having a voice, it's a scary, scary thing. I think it could be, I think in a lot of instances, it's helpful. It's a learning ability if you're open-minded, but you have so many people that are just so close-minded, and kind of like what you briefly talked about earlier, that are only around people who believe and think like they do, and they're going to latch onto something and just run with it. And then once they put that out there on social media, millions and millions of other people that think and believe like they do run with it. And no, it just seems like in today's world, nobody is willing to sit down and have a conversation and openly listen to what the other side is saying without spewing hate at them, whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah,
and, and it's okay to disagree with people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of who we are. I mean, I don't agree with everything that you've said. You don't agree with everything that I've said. But like we've talked about, I'm not going to allow 20 plus years of, I'm not going to allow that to come in between 20 plus years of friendship. I mean,
if anything, it strengthens a relationship, I think, when you can go through the ups and downs and you can struggle with a disagreement, I think, and work through it and know that you can work through it because you know the other person. And so you know the disagreement isn't like, I don't know, deeper. Like it's not in their character. It's not necessarily who they are. I don't know what it's like a misunderstanding maybe, or a miscommunication in a way.
Right. I'm not against going back to the way, like you were talking about 81, the inauguration, bringing in a new president. You know, when I was growing up as a kid, nobody talked about politics. And guess what? There wasn't near as much hate. So, I mean, of course, yes, it was talked about, but there were just certain things, religion, politics, and certain things you just didn't casually talk about. It wasn't out in the open like it is today.
Yeah. And I can point some fingers on where I think that started getting louder and louder. I do think cable news, and I'm just going to go ahead and say Fox specifically was designed to specifically cater to this demographic, a conservative audience who wants to hear conservative news.
Right. And I will agree with you on that. And I will also point out, and this is going to be in the form of a question, and everybody will know this answer. Who was the first candidate running for presidency to start using social media?
I'm pretty sure it was Obama, right?
It was Barack Obama, which was a great strategy. It helped him reach millions and millions of people that he probably wouldn't have reached just from CNN or Fox News or just regular cable news, because the younger generations don't really pay attention to that. So that was a great strategy to use it, but I think it's kind of snowballed now, and sweet Lord, it's gotten insane.
Well, I'm always more interested in the message that somebody is giving, not as much the platform. So, like when Fox News comes on, I think that having a conservative news outlet is healthy for a democracy. My issue was that they really advertised themselves as fair and balanced, and they were pretending like, hey, we give both sides, unlike all the other news is liberal and we're doing it even-handed. And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't believe Fox News or CNN is fair and balanced. I think CNN is more strongly directed towards the liberal population, and I think Fox News is, I mean, it's obvious it's more for the conservatives. And I actually got into this conversation with my cousin, who's a few years younger than us, just the other day, and he's a far right guy. I mean, and he's one of those that you can't convince him that he's wrong. And he was talking about Fox News this, Fox News that. And I said, look, when something major is going on, I said, I want you to watch 30 minutes to an hour of Fox News. Then watch 30 minutes to an hour. However long you watch Fox News, watch CNN for that amount of time on the same subject. Then take what you want from this and take what you want from this. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But you have to be a smart enough individual to figure that out.
The truth, yeah, at least you're taking in more information. So the truth, you're more likely to get some truth than just focusing on whatever is easiest because they're telling you what you want to hear anyway. It's almost like eating your vegetables and eating candy. Like, it's fun. I could tune into MSNBC and hear all of the things that are wrong with the Republican Party. And they could be true also. Like, they could be talking about true things, but they're not going to talk about any things that conservatives want to do that benefit the country, or very few. Like, sometimes they do, and I do appreciate that. But I could watch that all day and just think, I am so right all the time. Like, I just patting myself on the back as I have that on the TV. And it would make me feel good. It would make me feel like so validated that I'm always right. But you need to kind of challenge yourself to look outside for maybe some evidence that you might be, I don't know, not necessarily wrong, but some inconvenient facts and how to factor those into your opinion.
Now, I'm going to plug one of our non-sponsors that we would like to get on board to sponsor us. It's like the old Taco Bell slogan, think outside the box.
There we go. Taco Bell. Bite into this week with a new, fresh Taco Bell gordita. Do they still have the gorditas?
They do. Right now, they have like a grilled cheese crunch thing. I don't know. It's supposed to be real. I don't know. I might have to try it out.
All right. Well, back to the theme of the show that we gently hover around and come back to occasionally. My reaction to Richmond, north of Richmond, came after I was already picking up on my liberal social media channels that the right had a new anthem and headlines like, "Why are right-wing songs always bad?" or something like that. And so, it would have been real easy to just read those and say, yeah, this song sucks too, I bet. But I thought, hey, maybe I should listen to the song first. Before.
Have we mentioned his name yet? I think we need to give the songwriter and the artist some credit, though.
I think we did once at the top, but by all means.
Oliver Anthony, just in case we didn't do that.
Okay. Oliver Anthony, and you can look up this song on YouTube, and he's got a bunch of other songs, but this one is the one that took off. I watched the YouTube video of him performing in the woods with just a microphone in front of him. And my initial impression, kind of like you, I wasn't getting like a left or right vibe. I was getting this raw kind of sense of urgency that I think is lacking in a lot of other music. It's anytime a musician has something to say and it just sounds like it's really passionate and important to them, that song is going to take off, or it has Absolutely. A good chance. And you can hear that. You can hear it in his voice. You can hear it in the style. And so just words aside, I'm watching this believing this guy passionately cares about what he's singing about. The words are pretty universal, and we can get into some of the lyrics too.
Yeah. And I'm going to kind of bounce around. I'm not going to start from the top of unless you just want to. I've got the lyrics pulled up. Do you just want to go from top to bottom? Or?
Short enough song. So now we're analyzing, is there a liberal conservative difference of the interpretation of the lyrics?
Okay. So I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay. So I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away.
To me, that's more class related. It's a class, like the working class anthem, not a right or left.
Right.
So now the left would pride itself on being, formerly the working class party.
Sure, but I know that I think a lot of the far left could probably get in there where he talks about working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, and their fight to raise the wages, which, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining AOC reading these lyrics and saying, this is exactly why corporations need to be held accountable. Obviously, they would have other things to disagree with, but I think that's the interesting kind of perspective, is to have, how would other people read this and interpret this? And I think in that case, you're in complete agreement. The corporations are taking advantage of the little man and Absolutely. The little woman who are out working long hours, not getting paid. The little people. Little people.
That way we include all 5,000 genders.
There's whoever you want to be, you can be. That's the freedom of living in this country.
We're
going to stay tuned for our gender episode.
Oh,
and Karl's gender reveal at the end. One other thing that I think he touches on here that I think is important right up at the top is as a result of corporations taking advantage of workers,
alcoholism
and drug use and addiction. And then we went through, talk about a hot button political issue. We went through the opioid epidemic. We've gone through crack and cocaine, and we've gone through, marijuana has always been like do you know how many people
should not be classified as a drug?
How many people are incarcerated still to this day for just having marijuana? Is nuts.
It's insane. And there are, obviously it's not legal in Texas yet. One day I'm not a marijuana user. I've never cared for it, but I have my own philosophies on why we should legalize it in Texas. But there are some cities that have basically just made it a misdemeanor if you get caught with it. But in your smaller, more rural areas, it's more, yes, you still get sentenced to prison. I read the court records all the time, and it's insane how many years people for possessing marijuana are getting sentenced to 10 to 15 years of prison versus people who commit a sex act on a child get probation or 2 years. It's insane. It's like, to me, marijuana is not, is it a mind-altering substance? Yes. If you want to say that's a drug, sure. But it's not bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm also not a big marijuana user. It makes me more anxious than I already am. I want to refer to when I took a gummy last time I was in San Angelo, and we watched
calling me out.
And we watched. No, I found it on the street. I said, Karl, what is this? And Karl said, I don't know what that is.
Let's eat it and find out.
Looks like a candy. Let's have it. And watched Joe Dirt, awesome. Which is, to be fair, a great movie to watch while you're high. But the whole time, and this is why I'm not a huge smoker or eater of marijuana, is I was so anxious watching him. And I was like, oh man, everything keeps going wrong for this poor guy. Are we not seeing this? Oh my God. Everybody is cheating him, and he's losing it all, and nothing goes right for this poor guy. He caught some lucky breaks, but I thought one of these minutes, like he's just barely.
And what I got out of that night had nothing to do with Joe Dirt. It was when we went to eat dinner.
Most delicious Mexican food
in San Angelo.
There's our sponsor,
Henry. Maybe I can get Henry. I'll go talk to him.
Okay, great.
Okay, so yeah. Next line. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me and people like you. Wish I could wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is. And I think that's just a follow-up to the first verse.
This is a big generalized, like, let's take a step back, and I'm going to tell you what the big picture for me is like the world's changing.
Yeah, and he touches on that on this next line.
Yeah, well, I do want to hit on one thing that I think got the left a little bit, got their backs up a little bit, is when you have somebody say, for people like me and people like you, you have to keep in mind, who's he talking to? Who are the people like you? Is this inclusive, or is he talking about only people in the South or only white guys like me? And
yes, and I agree with you. And I think that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is it's quick to jump on that and call them out for, because when he says people like me, and here's this big white redheaded dude, and then people like you, it's quick for people to jump on that and say, oh, he's talking about white people versus black people. And he's not.
Or he's talking to other white people and saying, you and me, white people, we're forgotten about. I can see how that can be an interpretation, but I still think, and I think later on he's clarified and explained.
I can see how it's an interpretation, but I can also realistically see how it shouldn't be. And if people do interpret it that way, they're, for lack of a better word, they're fucking idiots.
And they may interpret it in a good way to them. They may like the song more, thinking that he's saying nobody's looking out for white people. And I do think there's a certain demographic.
That's my thing is, I don't think he was talking about race.
Yeah.
I think he was talking about the working class people.
I agree completely. And that's one where when people talk, and this kind of goes back to our whole thing about having conversations, is you'll hear what you want to hear, or you'll interpret it how you want to interpret it. So if you've already decided, if you already read the article that said this song is a right-wing anthem and you need to dislike it, here's why, that line is you're going to read that in a negative way.
Right.
All right.
So moving on. Living in the new world with an old soul. I completely know what he's saying there. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. And I know what he's talking about there. Want to know what you think, want to know what you do, and they don't.
Well, describe when you said, I know what he's talking about there. So living in a new world with an old soul. I mean, I get it, but I'd love to hear you speak to it.
The world's changing on a daily basis. It's not the same world that you and I grew up in. So what I interpret that is like, we have an old way of thinking, like, and we still have a lot of baby boomers alive that they're set in their ways because that's all they've ever known. So they have that old soul, and they're not really wanting to, and they're definitely not adjusting to the new world that we're in now. And I'm guilty of that.
Right. You could read it as some of that's on me with my old soul, to adjust to a changing world that it's always going to change.
Right.
And some people, I do think,
we were out shopping earlier, and I found something, and I was talking to Marissa about it. I said, but I don't like change. She's like, oh, I know. So I hate change more than anybody. And I try not to let that affect the way I think about a lot of stuff that's going on. It does. And it does sway my opinions on certain things. But I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, I'll just say I'm guilty of it as well. I'll own up to it.
I like how in the song it seems, you could read it as he's just frustrated that he can't adjust to the new world. Maybe not necessarily that the new world is the problem.
It's not an easy thing to do. Exactly. It's not an easy thing. Like I said, I don't like change. That's not something that comes easily for me. I'm set in my ways, and for me, I know what works, and I like to keep it that way.
Now we can relate a little bit the previous line when he said it's a shame what the world's gotten to. He's not happy about a lot of the changes. Right. But he's also acknowledging that change in general is kind of hard, especially as you're used to something else, and the older you get, you're used to something else.
Right.
But the one constant in life is that it's always changing.
Everything changes.
All right. And then these Richmond, north of Richmond, Lord knows they want to have total control. Everybody thinks, politicians in Washington run the country. Sometimes I think that they're scapegoats because literally, like, we put them there every 2 years. And then 4 years for others and 6 years for senators. Like, I get it. And it is hard to change that system that's in place, but it was designed to give us the ability to keep changing and putting people there that represent us.
And the problem that we run into with that is kind of goes back to what we were talking about with change, is once we put people in there, it's just like, oh, okay, well, all right, let's just leave them in there. We'll just keep voting them in, keep voting them in. And I think the frustration with it, where it says they just all want to have total control, is I understand what he's saying. And it's like they run on these platforms and make all these promises, which anybody knows they can't deliver on those promises. Instead, and I think they need to change the way they run, instead of saying, I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to change this. So I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to fight to change this, because that's all they can do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't go up there as one person and, present a bill to Congress and it's just going to magically happen. But I think when the people's frustration is when they get into that office, it almost feels like they don't listen to the people who put them in office anymore.
Yeah, because I mean, campaign finance is no joke. You got to raise money as soon as you take office. Right after you win your election, you got to start raising money for the next one.
Yes, you have to start lobbying, and who are you going to lobby? Are you going to go lobby a neighborhood in the projects in Houston, or are you going to try to lobby some rich millionaire who, if you scratch his back, he's eventually going to scratch your back?
Right. Campaigning for small dollars is hard.
Correct. But anything good has never come easy.
I don't know. I feel like there's got to be some good things that are pretty easy.
Me?
Yeah. So yeah, Washington there is the issue. Money. I think money in politics is we'll talk about that in future episodes and all that stuff. I want to have total control. Karl, take us away.
Hold on. Okay. Lord knows they all just want to have total control, which want to know what you think, want to know what you do. And they don't think you know, but I know that you do, because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end because of Richmond, north of Richmond.
Okay. Well, part of that is what? Surveillance and controlling of your life.
Right. And I mean, anybody that believes that they're not watching our every little move, they are. I read an article a couple of days ago that was basically talking about how it's perfectly legal for law enforcement, such as FBI, CIA, or whatever, to hack into our phones or hack into our computers, because they label it as a threat, a national threat, which I don't know. I think if they have just cause, sure, do it. But I think if it starts getting out of hand to where local law enforcement agencies, like your police department, oh, well, I think this person might be dealing drugs, I think that's a bit much. Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this
it's hard. If it's an actual threat to our national security, I have no problem with them hacking into shit.
Hack away.
But if I want to become a big time drug dealer, stay out of my phone.
Karl's dealing gummies again.
and this next one.
Wait, I didn't get to speak to this one, which is where it's interesting, the surveillance.
Oh, we didn't touch on the text either.
The surveillance state. I mean, law enforcement, sure, but sometimes I feel like conservatives love law enforcement in one breath and dislike it in the next breath. But to me, this makes me think of big tech and, your phone in your pocket and all of the social media that Karl loves when he's TikToking away.
They absolutely listen. I mean, you and I, we can have a conversation about Skittles. That's just the first thing that popped into my mind. I haven't eaten a Skittle in 10 years. I'm going to get on Instagram or I'm going to get on TikTok when we're done, and there's going to be an ad for Skittles.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they just want to sell you Skittles and sell your information to advertisers.
Correct.
So, and they do want to know what you think, and they want to know what you do. And like, we're handling that. We're posting what we think and we're posting what we do on social media every day. This, I mean,
and that's the problem.
And they don't think you know, but I know that you do. So, we don't, sometimes I don't think we know just how much we're being taken advantage of.
No, I don't think we'll ever know that. But something else I take out of that is, or what you could take out of that, not necessarily me, where, and they don't think that you know, but I know that you do. It's almost like, are you too dumb to realize that they do? Not necessarily dumb, but just not.
Oh, I know that you do.
Not accepting.
That like he has faith in us for knowing a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's not Washington's. It's not the Richmond north of Richmond. It's the Richmond in Silicon Valley. And I mean, with TikTok, it's China, it's Mark Zuckerberg, it's Elon Musk. It's like all of these people who want to make lots of dollars off of your information.
Who have already made lots of dollars off of our information.
Yeah, and can use those lots of dollars to then lobby some lesser rich men who live in north of Richmond. Because I don't even think, when we're talking about taking it to the powerful people and the elite, I don't think
necessarily it's the government. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I in a sense I do, because I think that a lot of the government officials are in the pockets of these elite, the Mark Zuckerberg, the Elon Musk.
Right. They're employees at a certain point.
And it goes back to campaigning for money.
Mm-hmm. Campaign finance reform. We believe in it. It's a could be a nonpartisan issue. Because let's talk about these dollars. Speaking of, so when you're spending your campaign finance and you're trying to influence these politicians north of Richmond, inflation hits hard. What used to buy you a senator 10 years ago barely gets you a congressman today. And that's inflation.
Yes.
Working against you.
And it's I think we're in a depression.
Are you in a depressed mood right now?
No, I'm talking about our country's in a depression.
Oh, it's interesting how like the perspective on the I don't want to say economy. Well, yeah, the economy can be so different. Like if we were to pull up the stock market right now, although it's just weird that we use the stock market to dictate how good our economy is all the time.
Yeah, I don't know the first thing about the stock market. I've never even watched it.
It's like that's how profitable these largest companies in our country are. Do you know how they become profitable? A lot of times is to pay people as little as possible, because if you can cut your workers' salaries, there's more profit. Well, you're creating profit.
That's the reason that a lot of these companies will open factories overseas somewhere. And I'm not going to, name names, but if you can
call them out, Carl, you call them out.
If you can go overseas, well, they have a lot more money than I do, and I can't afford to compete.
And if they want to sponsor the show, just feel free to reach out, get in touch with us.
Absolutely, it might change my perspective. Everybody has a price.
We'll just leave you out of the next call out list.
But I think when I explain what I'm going to say, everybody will know who I'm talking about. But when you can open a factory and pay somebody 15 cents a day to make your shoes versus paying somebody $15 an hour in the United States to make it, as a company owner, that's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got these people, these company owners or these athletes that they endorse and use their name, image, and likeness to sell their shoe becoming billionaires, while some 10-year-old kids getting 15 cents a day to make them.
And there's where our labor standards and things come in. Are we allowing imports from factories where there's mistreatment of minors? Well, like these are all the decisions that we hire the Richmond, north of Richmond, to make. Like there's I think this gets forgotten a lot, is there's a lot of use for government. There's a reason why, our founders gave us this outline for representation, because there's a lot of questions we don't want to deal with. We just want to go to the store and buy the sneakers that fit well and are a decent price. We don't want to have to go online and figure out who's being tortured at the factory and whether or not we can buy these.
Correct.
And that's where I think government regulation always gets talked about like it's terrible all the time. But, sometimes it can be useful in allowing certain products to come to market and be bought in the United States, because we don't want the 15-cent sneakers here, because they're made with the deaths of lots of workers. And obviously we can't compete with those, because we're not going to allow that to happen in this country. Not yet, unless you fully hand it over to the corporate elite.
Oh, yeah.
Which, don't get me started on politics, but I do believe that there is one party that wants to... Moving on. Your dollar ain't shit. That's obviously inflation. No lying, inflation has been up. Inflation is down now. As we currently record this on August 27th of 2023, it looks like the interest rates that the Fed keeps raising, another instrument of the government that is working to lower inflation. I had a coworker one time back in Austin who gave me a whole book on why the Fed is just terrible. And I started reading it. I got very confused at a certain point. So maybe I just didn't understand it. But I do think it was created for situations like this, because just you need the ability to put the gas and the brakes on sometimes on the economy. And what they're trying to do right now, I think, is apply the brakes gently without sending us into a depression or a recession.
They're claiming we're just in a recession. We're in a depression. There's no doubt about it.
It's hard to know what's the metric for one or the other.
Well, I know what the metric is for me personally.
The recession leads to your depression.
Well, and I'm talking strictly on a financial aspect of it. And I'm not going to get into exact numbers, but if I
need bank account numbers.
If I was a single male, after taxes and insurance, which that's a whole other situation.
The next line, it's taxed to no end.
After that stuff comes, what I take home per month, I cannot survive. I would not bring home enough money to be able to pay a mortgage or rent, and then still pay water, electric, groceries, gas. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, because I'm seeing this, that's what leads me to believe this is not a recession. We're in a depression.
Mm-hmm.
And, Marissa and I were talking about that the other day, and I just told her, like, I don't know what I would do. Like, if I was a single male, I couldn't. There'd be nothing I could do. I'd be homeless.
And that's got to feel
with
like
a full-time job. I would be homeless with a full-time job.
Right. Even rent would not be affordable.
No.
Yeah, rent.
No, because where geographically where we live is, I think we're on the outside of the Permian Basin, the oil patch. But because we're so close to it, and everything in that oil patch is just priced astronomically high, because oh, this you work in the oil field, you make good money. Well, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. You're looking at, and I know people in California are probably used to these prices, but you could go a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. You're looking at $2,000 a month around here. That's insane.
Yeah, that's higher than I would have expected.
It's absolutely insane.
7 years ago,
Our hometown of Brady, Texas, is getting that bad.
Yeah. I rented a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, nice, I thought, pretty large apartment in Hollywood, in the middle of Hollywood, 7 years ago for $1,400.
And to me, that was 7 years ago. So imagine what that would be today.
Oh, I'm sure. And we have rent control out here, which helps, but it really means you have to stay in the same place because as soon as you move, you lose that rent control, and they can raise the rate back up to
whatever they want,
to the market value. So see, to that's capitalism. That's something that the left struggles with, is balancing. Capitalism means that, like, if you can find somebody to rent that apartment for $2,000, then it's going to be $2,000. If they couldn't find somebody, then that apartment would be $1,500, right?
You would hope.
Right? I mean, that should be, that's dictating that price. Should the government get involved? I don't know. And
I don't necessarily know if I don't think the government should get involved as far as dictating the rent, but they do need to get involved on lowering taxes instead of just taxing the shit out of us for passing every bill and spending money and sending money overseas. Quit going to Congress asking for billions of dollars to help these other countries. Ask Congress for billions of dollars we don't have it, but to help our country. And or
at least spend it on us.
Right. And I think that's been lost over the last 50 or 60 years is all of a sudden foreign policy I don't give two shits about what's going on around the rest of the world. Just take care of our own first. And if you take care of our own, we'll be fine with the rest of the world.
Well, that's a situation where I think there's some advantages to the U.S. having influence in the rest of the world. And sometimes you like conflicts to be settled on somebody else's soil than on ours. And I'm sounding like George W. Bush right now, but
I love it. Love it.
I'm not advocating for the United States invading another country, but I am very okay with the United States using the Ukrainian-Russian conflict to put a stop on Russia's advance. I would rather that happened over there than them going ahead and starting the invasion of Poland or moving westward unchecked, until it's at our doorstep and they're much more powerful than they were before. I do think that you need a block of countries, and not just us, a block of countries to have each other's back.
Here's my thinking on that. How powerful are they going to be? Just because they invade another country and take it over doesn't mean that the people of Poland are going to just, Russia controls us now, I'm just going to submit to Putin and do what he wants me to do. No. And then we have allies as well. So when it comes to that point, I still think we would be just fine.
Well, this is what a lot of Ukrainians went through, is when Russia invades, it's just like you and me. I mean, there could be Ukrainians singing this song about, well, Russia just took things over. I still need to make $1 and I still need to feed my family. Am I going to stop harvesting grain and selling it and creating revenue for my new country of Russia? I don't think so. I think I'm going to keep doing my job unless I'm.
But that doesn't mean you have to fall in line with their politics or join their military or.
Well, sometimes you don't have a choice.
Well, you do have it. You always have a choice.
Well, some of those military, I think
it's called a gun to your head.
Yeah, I think that's how they get some of their military recruitment over there in Russia.
No, I'm talking about doing it yourself. And that's something, if say if I lived in Ukraine or Poland and Russia invades us and they take it over, but my beliefs are totally against what Putin believes in, and I don't want any part of it. And the only way for me to not be a part of it is to not be alive, so be it.
We do not advocate for that on the Scott and Karl show.
No.
We advocate for meeting up with your neighbors and little secret get-togethers with code words.
And overthrowing the government.
Forming a resistance. Yeah. Forming a resistance.
How'd that go for us?
For us?
We had a few that tried it.
Oh, I'm talking about Ukrainians.
Well, I'm just saying, how'd that go for America? We're advocating for other countries to overthrow the government, but when the citizens of the United States wanted to do it, it was a bad thing, which I agree, it was a bad thing. It was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's who you're overthrowing does make a difference. You know, if you're overthrowing your neighbor who invaded you, seems pretty valid. If you're overthrowing the government of the country you've lived in for 250, God, how old is the United States? They celebrated 200 years in 1970. We're approaching 250 now. Yeah. Just because your candidate didn't win, then I don't believe in your revolution. I don't think that that's a valid overthrowing of the government.
Every great civilization has crumbled at one point.
Let's just not crumble ours right now. It's still,
let's wait till we're gone.
Still working somewhat. So let's just, voting is a great idea, and we can literally overthrow the government every 2 to 6 years. Go out and vote, everybody. You don't like the rich men? Vote them out of office. All right.
Where are we at on the song?
Where were we?
Okay, here we are. This is where I think it really gets, and I can speak on some a little bit of experience with this one. I wish politicians. No, on the first lines I can speak out on.
All right.
The first line, not the second line, just the first.
All right.
I wish politicians would look out for minors and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare.
Oh, that first two are totally different than the second two lines are, I think, a little on a totally different subject.
I agree. Now, as far as him talking about, I wish politicians would look out for minors. And for those that don't know, he's talking about people that work in mines, coal mines, salt mines, copper mines. I mean, anything mining from the earth. And they do. There's a whole government organization. It's called MSHA, Miners Safety Health Association, or something is what it stands for. I'm a part of that because I work for a mine. We are held to certain standards. MSHA officials are required to come out to every mine in America at least twice a year and do a safety inspection. They write citations. And if you get out of there without any citations, I mean, that's extremely rare. You're always going to get a citation. Which, when you get a citation, you can appeal those citations unless they're called S&S. Which those are, you can't appeal to an S&S. Those are extreme safety hazards. And you have to pay fines to the government for not adhering to the safety and health standards that the government has set for mines. And all of this started because, I want to say, West Virginia somewhere, there was a coal mine that had collapsed and killed a bunch of people. And that's when the government got involved. So now there's major regulations. So that I wish politicians would look out for minors. I don't understand what he's talking about because of my experience and my perspective, they do.
And you have,
Are they a pain in the ass when MSHA shows up? Absolutely, they are. But deep down, they're there for the workers' benefit. Their main goal is they want you to go home the way you came to work.
Yeah. Only a little bit richer.
Well, I don't know about that.
Maybe a little bit, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But then again, on top of that, you have to do when you get hired as a new miner, it's called new miner training. You have to go through so many hours. It's multiple days worth of training of just safety and what to do, what not to do. And then once you do that, once a year, you have to go through an 8-hour class again every single year. So in my perspective and experience, I can call him out on that. I don't agree with that one because I think they do.
And it's interesting because you have much more firsthand miner experience than, again, miner the profession.
The profession people.
Experience.
Not the children.
No. You have experience raising miners as a proud father, but the experience of being a miner is maybe something that not that many people in the country have understand fully. And maybe even him, because I read it as he's kind of just talking about blue collar work in general. Look out for miners, like look out for the working person.
The only thing that I can think that he's talking about there is maybe the pay. But I mean, when I read that line, I wish politicians would look out for miners. When I read that, in my mind, I'm like, they do. That's what MSHA is. We hate them, but at the same time, I know what they're there for, and I appreciate the fact that they're there.
And the reason that I think maybe this is one of the lines that the right would have embraced more than you is that whenever I hear Republicans talk about miners this and miners that, and Mitch McConnell especially, coal miners, and all these liberals with their green agenda, they want to put miners out of business. And I think even Hillary Clinton, one of her flubs was when she said, we're going to shut down a lot of coal mines or something. We're going to put a lot of coal miners out of business, which not a great campaign message, like there may not be a lot of miners, but those miners do vote and those miners have friends and family who vote. So maybe your campaign shouldn't be about how you're going to put them out of business and more about how like we want to transition them into a business for the future that doesn't emit so much pollution. And that's a whole other episode too. Anyway, so I read this as the miners, maybe, Republicans talk about miners being hurt by, I don't know if government was trying to shut down mines or whatever. So anyway, enough about those miners. Let's talk about the island where the politicians are hanging out in this song. And yeah, that's like you were saying, not enough criminal punishment for some of those crimes, maybe. Versus the marijuana possession earlier, we were like, you can get 10 to 15 for that, but you get a slap on the wrist for something. I don't know what these punishments are, but it does seem like that's one of the worst crimes you can do, and that they should throw the book at you.
I agree. Okay, next line. And not just miners on an island somewhere. I don't think, and obviously he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, that's what I was just talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I was like, that's one of the
paying attention.
Sometimes Karl just nods and smiles and he's like, Scott's going to wrap up soon enough. No, that's what I was saying. That's one of the worst crimes.
That's probably the truest statement you've ever said.
And that's one of the areas where we need to rely on government for some of the, maybe that's speaking to child trafficking. I think that's another hot button issue that I think the right talks about more. And so maybe that's another line that got them more attention.
I think the right talks about it. I think they do it and they're putting it on the left. doesn't care if children are trafficked. Uh, I think the right just put that out there, and a lot of people latched onto it, so they've held on to it. The same way I think that the left is trying to put that everybody on the right, because you're a Republican, you're racist. And a lot of people on the left have grabbed onto that. So I think that's why the right continues to do that. And in my opinion, I don't care if you're on the left or the right. There's no decent human being on the face of this earth that approves of child trafficking. None. I don't think politics should. I'm not going to say they shouldn't get involved, because they should get involved to do something to help stop it. And I'm sure they are. I haven't dove into it to really look into everything that they're doing. But I don't think you can put all of the blame on a politician. So
Yeah,
that line, he could just toss that line out of the song. I have my own, like, I just stated what my opinion on it was. It is what it is.
Well, he's as a songwriter, you play with the word. The word minors can mean both, so he's just using some artistic choices there. And I do take issue with the Republicans when certain very loud ones will just, if you can't have a debate on the issues, just call your opponent a pedophile, and there you go.
Absolutely.
That's the ticket.
Or a racist.
See, to me, there's a difference between calling somebody a pedophile and a racist.
No, not really, because, I mean, obviously the words are different. They both mean different things, but can you prove it? Just because you don't like this person, he's a Republican, oh, you're a racist. No.
Yeah, if you're a pedophile...
Because I'm a conservative and I'm a white person, it's very, very easy in this day and age for me to be called a racist because I'm white and I say I'm a Republican. And because of that, you're a racist. And it's the same thing that, to me, as if good old Robert over here is a Republican and he's in an argument with Ted that's a Democrat, and they're arguing, and old Robert says, well, you're a pedophile. To me, it's no different. You don't have any proof. Just so like if I say something that if I just admit to somebody that I'm a Republican, oh, well, you're racist then. Where's your proof? Have I ever done anything or said something that's racist? Absolutely. I think we all have. We've all made a joke and
that's sort of maybe where the difference is between pedophile and racist. Pedophile, like if you are a pedophile, that's a crime, and you will be prosecuted and put away. If you're a racist,
well, you're not classified as a pedophile until you've been convicted. Remember, it used to be
the action.
Innocent. Yes,
the action is so. If you're accusing someone of a crime, essentially, when you call them that, when you accuse somebody of being a racist, it's kind of like, I think you're saying racist things, or you are a racist by the fact that you say racist things or something. And nobody's getting locked up for that. You're just at the very most, you're getting canceled, and maybe whatever show you hosted, you can know. I mean, if you're in the privileged position to have a show, you can, possibly lose that show because you've been labeled a racist. But you're not getting prosecuted for that. And so to me, the accusation of one of those two things are very different. A racist, that's a tough word because it's very subjective. What's racist to one person is not racist to another person. And I think, not to spend too long on this point, but the other one is less subjective.
Okay. Marissa just texted me, and I'm thinking, from what I get out of this, she's siding with you.
Can she even hear me?
She can't hear you at all. She can hear me.
Maybe that's the secret. If I could just have a full conversation where the audience can't hear me, I actually make a better case.
She said, same as calling someone a slut or whore, still derogatory without being a crime.
There you go. I'm in agreement there. All right, we got to get through this song.
I know. Now, and we've kind of touched on the next line. We got folks in the street ain't got nothing to eat. We've already talked about taking care of our own.
Well, this is different. This isn't the working class. This is the homeless problem. And to me, the fact that he's speaking to the homeless and empathizing with them, whereas a lot of times I hear people on the right talking about the homeless with less empathy and more of like a gotcha for cities. You know, Democrats don't know how to run their cities because there's so many homeless people, and they want to like ship homeless people around. Well, they tend to ship people around more for border crossings, but I'm thinking, then there used to be a time when people would send homeless people to other cities.
No clue.
With less compassion. Anyway, I think here he's empathizing with the homeless.
Sure.
Which is something that we could do more of in this country, I think.
And the obese, milk, and welfare. And then he says, well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds.
Honestly, the first time I heard that, I thought he said Texas. And I was thinking, wait, is he from Texas? And Texas is specifically paying for everybody's welfare?
I don't have any fudge rounds.
No.
But, okay, some controversy that came out of this from the left immediately was he's talking about black people because they're talking about welfare. No, to me, he doesn't specify a race. He's just talking about, and I agree with what he's saying. If you're overweight and you're so overweight, you're 5'3", 300 pounds, you're probably not going to be able to leave the house. You're not going to be in great health. So you can't get a decent job to where you can work towards getting off of welfare. And he's saying, you know, quit taxing me so they can sit at home for free. And I think that's another working class thought. A lot of people I know that are working class, they have that same mindset. And it's not because they're right or they're left. It's because we're out there busting our ass. And like I was touching on earlier, I'm out there busting my ass, full-time job, and I couldn't survive. I don't get any welfare. But yet, somebody that is, whether they're lazy or not, I'm not going to say lazy because, but anyway, but they don't want to work and they can get welfare, and they get more of it because they have more kids and they keep having kids, and they can just sit at home and get free groceries or a free cell phone. The rent can be cheaper because there's government programs to allow for cheaper rent for them people. And when I say them people, I'm not talking about a race. I'm talking about the people on welfare: white, black, brown, purple, yellow, green. So, you know, to our viewers that want to call me out on being racist, I'm not being racist.
And we're taking you to jail for it.
That's right. Arrest me. I've got some handcuffs in the bedroom.
You've heard the term welfare queen? Because it's a loaded persona that, I mean, today.
I have no problem with people on welfare that need the help.
Yeah.
But are putting forth an effort in society and trying to hold down a full-time job, but they just need that little bit of extra help. I have no problem with that. Zero. Yeah. I think what he's talking about are the people that don't put that effort.
Yeah, that abuse the system.
Yes. And I think that's what he's talking about. I don't think it was a race thing at all.
Well, that's the thing where I think it could be interpreted different ways based on history and, you know, different perspectives. So he could speak to just today, regardless of race. We have a lot of people on welfare and they shouldn't be abusing that money to be getting fat. That could be, sure. And then, you know, you could debate that left and right or whatever. Historically, the persona of a welfare queen as advertised kind of like during, you know, Reagan's campaigns. And I mean, people can debate on how much he played a part in creating this, but it was typically a black woman that was symbolizing the term welfare queen as just taking from the government. And I think it was used in a very racist way to make white people think black people are taking money from you. Now here, 30 or 40 years later, and Oliver Anthony he's a different generation though. He's 10 or 20 years younger than us. That can mean something different to a different generation.
No,
but
I do think he's only a year. We're only a year younger than him. We're not that old.
I saw his red beard. There wasn't any gray in that beard.
Because redheaded people don't go gray. They go white.
I don't know. I had some. Hey, maybe that's me.
Hey, you had a lot of red in your hair back.
I had red in my hair. Oh. I had red in my beard. So anyway, that's where when people talk about obese milk and welfare, I think that's where, again, you get that those are some of the words that people start to get a little defensive about. I don't think that once he had a conversation with them, that they would still dislike his perspective, but I think on that line, that's where if you don't know him and you don't know what else he said on the subject, you might think, oh, he's just dog whistling to the base to be like, yeah, don't you hate how these black people take your welfare money and you have to pay for it while you're working really hard? According to him, that's not what he means. And honestly, it looks like it could.
Well, I just found a quote from him. So when we're done with the song,
yeah,
I'm gonna read his quote, what he says he means.
On that specific line?
On the whole song in general.
Okay, yeah. I have some reaction stuff too that we could read. But yeah, we're getting there. Through it. But yeah, I think, and the left was saying, okay, there could be racist. It could also mean like, hey, why are you being so critical of poor people? People are on welfare and you're telling them they can't have a candy bar. And I've heard him speak to this, and it's a slippery slope when you start saying, here's what you can and can't do when you don't have any money.
Well,
don't spend it on.
I don't know for sure, but it seems like there are certain things that you're not allowed to purchase if you're on food stamps, like as far as sodas or junk food. I know you can't buy energy drinks, which is fine with me. I mean, I think we need to ban all energy drinks, but.
What if you need that energy to get up and get your resume together?
There's this little country south of the United States called Colombia, and they have a great product that gives you tons of energy.
But then you're going to get locked up for life in this country. Back to the first verse. We're starting from the top.
Start over. But okay. Well, then the next line is young men, and this is really the last line because he just kind of repeats a verse.
Wait, well, we didn't say if you're 5'3" and 3. Oh no, you did get to that. You're right.
Get to that. So
honestly, I don't know what a fudge round is. Is that a specific brand of?
It's a little Debbie.
Candy? A little Debbie is called a fudge round.
Yes, they're freaking great.
I remember.
It's it's like the consistency of an oatmeal cream pie, but it's chocolate and no oatmeal.
I thought they were just called like cream pies or they were called Little Debbie's. But are they literally called Little Debbie fudge round?
Little Debbie is the company. So yeah. So they have fudge rounds, they have the oatmeal cream pies, they have zebra cakes, which are my favorites. And now they've got a zebra cake roll, which is awesome.
Twinkies fall into that category too.
I think Twinkies are Hostess, different company.
Oh,
also right. There's two potential sponsors right there.
Honestly, I've had fudge rounds and I didn't know they were called fudge rounds. I thought those were literally called Little Debbie's.
No, that's just
even though Little Debbie makes a lot of the other ones. That particular
one you thought
chocolate,
was
the little chocolate cakes. Yeah,
it's got like the little icing on it.
It has it's
got like center chocolate cream in the middle.
No, it was whipped cream. It was like vanilla.
Oh no, you're talking about I think it's called like a ding dong or a ho ho.
A ding dong is long and cylinder shaped.
Yes, a ding dong is long and cylinder shaped.
Hence the name. So I know that this little fudge round that I'm talking about is not a ding dong.
Hold on, I'm fixing to send you a picture. Maybe.
And what was the other thing you thought it was?
What I thought it was.
You said that's a ding dong, or that's a
ho ho or something like that.
Ho ho snack. Let me see about this. No, it's also not a ho ho. That's another long cylinder snack.
Well,
Little Debbie snack cakes. I think they were called snack cakes, not fudge rounds. This is my biggest issue with the song, honestly. I know it gets political at times, but my biggest problem with Oliver Anthony is that I was confused by fudge rounds because they're Hostess cupcakes.
Hostess I just sent you a picture of just the fudge round, not the packaging. But that's a fudge round.
Listeners, we'll try and link to this in the show notes if we can.
Getting some feedback there.
Oh, okay. This is nothing like what I thought it was. That's a cream. What is that? A oatmeal cookie sandwich or something?
But it's not oatmeal. I mean, it's just like the oatmeal cream pie, but with.
Okay, that's a cookie sandwich. I had no idea what a fudge round was, and I have just learned. That's what we're here about doing on the show. Is we're all about learning and understanding.
Informing.
Yeah, I still would take a Hostess cupcake over a fudge round.
I'm a zebra cake guy.
Yeah, I don't understand.
My grandma.
All right, there's nostalgia in all of these snacks.
That's right. That was our midnight snack when I was a kid.
Oh,
glass of milk. Although she put ice in her milk, which I always found strange.
My grandma put ice in her red wine, and I just thought that was.
We went and saw some music last night, and I was putting ice in my beer.
Not a terrible idea, especially if you just want to sip on a cold beer and you're not trying to get that drunk.
Right.
What's the problem?
Nothing.
No problem here.
People were looking at me kind of funny, like, "Did you just pour water in your beer?" I'm like, "No, I poured ice in my beer."
Mm-hmm.
Get off my back.
I tell you, this country being on your back, trying to control what you think and do.
They think that I don't know.
Well, I think you do.
I know you know I do know.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So the very last lines of the song, other than I'm assuming that's his chorus, the last two paragraphs there. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground because all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. That's a loaded one. I mean, I think you could poll 10 different people on that. I think you could get 10 different perspectives on it.
And good lyrics, I think, leave multiple interpretations open.
Well,
and I think that might have been on purpose.
I believe it was the great Eddie Vedder has said, "It's not my job to interpretate the song to you."
Did he literally say interpretate?
Well, that's how Karl says it.
Oh, okay. I guess if Eddie Vedder said that would be even better.
It. And it's your job to listen to it, and whatever that makes you feel, it's your job to figure out what it says and speaks to you.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, if we listen to music just to have them tell us, I mean, obviously some songs are self-explanatory, but a well-written song that causes people to continually ask the artist, well, what's the meaning behind this? What's the meaning behind this? That's a well-written song because nobody truly knows.
Well, sometimes a well-written song does make you feel something strongly that it's talking about, and you also understand what it is that they're talking about. I think that's a great song where I think like, oh, I never thought of that. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean,
I get frustrated when I've listened to a song for so long and it's because it makes me feel this and this is what I'm taking it as. Then I come across an article like 2 or 3 years down the road where the artist is like, well, this song means this. And it's like completely different than what it made me feel. And I'm just like.
But that feeling that you had is valid, you know? And I love that song can create that in you and make you aware of that feeling.
That's why I love music so much. It's so beautiful.
I love when I listen to a lyric and it really hits me hard. And I think, damn, that was a genius. Like he wrote that. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then I read the lyrics and I realize that's not what they said. I heard it wrong. And then I think, oh, that could be mine now. That's my lyric.
Yes, Scott. And we could work with that.
Yeah.
We could do our own music. Scott and Karl. Greatest hits compilation.
Perfect.
All right.
If we can't get the rights to put any other songs on this show, we'll make them ourselves.
That's right. So
young men are putting themselves 6 feet under. This is hard work, and you're not getting appreciation for all of this work that you're putting in. And
for me, I don't really even want to touch on it because there's so many different things that just could he be talking about, because the whole song's talking about the working class and like where he says up at the top, drag back home and drown my troubles away.
Back to the top.
Are they drinking themselves to death, or do they have a meth problem?
It's the suicide rate.
Is it suicide?
It's speaking to that.
So to me, that line's a hard one to touch because, and I kind of like what we were just saying. It's a great line because it opens your mind to so many possibilities. Like Yellow Ledbetter. We don't know what the hell he's talking about.
He's just got up and just freestyled. That was an Eddie Vedder off the top of his head.
Yeah, but nobody knows what he's saying and everybody loves it.
And I think he changes the words every time. We're going to have to,
because I don't think he knows what he said.
For the next deconstruction of a work of art, we're going to have Aaron on to interpret Yellow Ledbetter and all of its variations.
I'm perfectly down for that. I've got it, and I'll tell you when we're done recording.
We don't hide anything from our audience.
No, this is just a conversation Marissa and I had that was about winning the lottery, what we would do. It was hilarious.
That could be its own episode too. We've got a lot of content to look forward to. Because all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. So many interpretations of that too. And and I think that even if somebody's not seeing it specifically, they're relating to it because he's saying something that you can relate to. And I think that's what makes a great song is they just have this feeling of just getting kicked again and again and not being able to afford anything.
No matter what you do or how hard you work, it's just like life just continues to just kick you down and you can't ever get ahead. And that's a shitty feeling to be in, a shitty place to be in.
And I don't think this is all economic. I think he might have felt like he might have been writing about the economics, but I think a lot of people might have related to this in terms of being like kicking them down in terms of telling them they can't say certain things or telling them that they're the bad person for saying certain things or being who they are. And, and that's an area where we all think that's a problem and we all point to different groups who are being kept down and not being allowed to be who they are. The left will defend their groups and the right will say, well, what about us? We need to be who we are.
And the left will defend their groups and try to take down the right. The right's going to defend their groups and take down the left.
And what does that takedown look like? I don't know.
We're on the verge of finding out, I believe.
Well, not if this show can reach enough ears.
Could you imagine? You always hear this talk, oh, we're going to have another civil war. We're going to have another civil war. How would you split the country up? Because you have the left living all over this country in every corner of it, and you have the right living all over this country in every corner of it. Who's going to get what territory?
Well, I know everybody keeps
It's not going to be a North versus South like the Civil War actually was.
Yeah. People point to California and they're like, those damn West Coast Californians. I'm like, we have more Republicans in California than like 20 of your red states, right? Like
more people.
Both Dakotas, you could throw in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, probably, both West Virginia, all of those probably don't still add up to how many Republicans we have in our very blue state.
because y'all have millions and millions of more people, which y'all are losing them pretty rapidly. But they're just coming out here trying to change our ways.
Yeah.
Keep them, Scott. Keep them. We need to put a damn wall on the border of California. That's where the wall needs to go.
How am I supposed to get through that every road trip I take to come see you?
Airplane.
No, I'm driving. I'm stopping at every electric charging station on the way, and I'll see you in 2 months.
Okay. Question. If your garage would have flooded, you have an electric car.
Mm-hmm.
Would it have screwed it up?
Probably. I don't know. Like if your car gets flooded, any car that gets flooded
it screws it up.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about
like you get in there and just like push the start button and get electrocuted.
I mean, is it currently submerged?
I don't know.
Hey, let's test it.
Scuba gear on. When you come in, we're going to park your car in the pool this time.
See if it works. We'll get some
scuba gear. Marissa loves science, so she'll back this experiment up.
Great.
We'll see if we get electrocuted.
I love it.
She's screaming no, but she does love science, so I know I can talk her into it.
Excellent. Well, we'll continue this science podcast next time where we address another hot button issue or song.
I do want to read this quote from him.
Oh, right. Yeah. After the song got embraced by the right, and I'm not going to say demonized by the left, but I know that the people on the left took shots.
Sure. Because I think they jumped on what they saw as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm not faulting them for that.
Well, they were expecting him to come out and be the kind of guy who just said, yeah, I wrote this about the left because they're a bunch of idiots and they're a bunch of pedophiles and Joe Biden's ruining your dollar. And they were just getting ready to hate this guy and hate the song. But then he records a video and posts it, I love, directly to YouTube so that you can hear it straight out of his mouth, a 10-minute video, to which we got some quotes.
So this says, the universal thing that I see, no matter how much effort they put into whatever it is that they're doing, they can't quite get ahead because the dollar's not worth enough. They are being overtaxed. I want to be a voice for those people, and not just them, but humans in general. And to me, that's not one side or the other.
Yeah.
So,
but we can't stay out of politics because of this show. So
we can't stay out of politics because of the left.
Because of the left and the right?
No, just the left.
All right. So he didn't like the fact that the Republicans embraced it and even played a clip of it at the Republican debate.
At the debate.
Yeah.
I think next week we need, and there's a long list we could choose from, but I think we needed to do a Rage Against the Machine song.
And analyze it?
Yes.
That might be challenging. I want to...
Because as much as the side of politics that I believe in and that I support, you would think I wouldn't like Rage Against the Machine. But I love them. And I don't like my musicians to get political on me, but I love Rage.
I remember I was trying to use Tom Morello to convince you to vote one way.
It almost worked.
Yeah, it got real close.
If you wouldn't have had Joe Biden running, it would probably worked.
It's interesting to hear, of all people, Joe Biden seemed like the safest bet.
Oh, my word.
We get it. Nobody wants Mayor Pete. He's gay and he doesn't have enough experience. Nobody wants Kamala Harris. She's black and she's a woman and she sounds and dresses like Hillary. Like, okay, who is the country going to be okay with? Old Joe. I mean, he's been there before. He's not even that progressive. He's like, half the time they complain that he's senile. Half the time they say he's like a criminal mastermind. So I don't know. I think he's just getting by. He's just trying to hold together the party and get some stuff done, sign an infrastructure bill, and trying to keep his son out of jail.
And I'm all for the infrastructure bill. Absolutely. Like, bring it on, because that's my line of work. And one of them's going to bring an interstate right through here. Okay. Bring it.
All right.
But we'll have to get that to another episode.
Yeah. I just wanted to say in regards to, I want to say Oliver Anthony, should we just call him Oliver? We're on a first name basis now.
Yeah, I'll see if I can't set up getting him as a guest.
Yeah. And Oliver said, it was funny seeing my song, seeing it at the presidential debate, because it's like, I wrote that song about those people. So for them to have to sit and listen to that cracks me up. I don't know that if they pretended that they didn't know that it was about them, or if they knew and they just had to grin through it and pretend like.
I think he just sounds like a good old boy, which when you hear good old boy these days, people's mind, oh, well. I just think he's just a good old boy that is a decent human being and wants better for all humans.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't just write an easy anthem.
No.
And he goes on to say that song has nothing to do with Joe Biden. No. It's a lot bigger than Joe Biden. The song was written about the people on that stage, and a lot more too, not just them, but definitely them.
Right.
And I'm looking at the people on that stage pretending and embracing this, common man speaking for the people, working man song as if they represent it. And
there was, and I didn't watch the full debate, but there's one person that has my vote, and he was at the debate. So that tells you who I won't vote for.
Because out of any of them, I don't know, I have issues with all of them. And
I think you would be surprised at mine.
Was it the governor of North Dakota?
Nope.
Well, then I wouldn't be surprised, because the rest of them I could see. I mean, we'll get into a.
Well, we'll wait till we stop recording. We'll talk about it.
No, this could be a whole other episode of who.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We can talk about it when we stop recording, and then use it.
Making the case for all the contenders, because I didn't watch it, so I would have to do my homework. I didn't watch it. I let Oliver watch it for me and comment since they were playing his song.
You didn't miss a whole lot. In my opinion, there was one person that owned the rest of them.
Yeah,
and
Ramaswamy.
No.
Well,
Vivek.
That's Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, yeah, I don't know his last name.
The consensus is
yeah,
he's a polarizing figure, and I think we could definitely fill an episode talking about the pros and cons. Oh, I don't know.
I think there's a lot of pros.
Oh God!
See, now we, because of that look right there, we're gonna have to put this on YouTube. I think there's a lot of pros, but there's pros and cons to each and every one of them. Both sides.
I feel like he has more cons than pros.
Lack of experience.
And here's the issue: is they made him a star because they all of these other candidates said, we don't like this guy. And when you all team up against somebody, then it gives them a ton of attention in the spotlight to bask. And then, of course, the fact that Trump didn't show up gave him the opportunity to be the Trump.
I'd like to see Vivek and Trump do a debate.
How would that even be a debate? Because Vivek, why would you even run if you think Trump is the greatest president of the 21st century? Why are you running against him?
But
his whole campaign seems to just be like, Trump is amazing. I'm going to pardon him and roll on Trump forever. But you're in a campaign against Trump.
Save it for another episode, Scott. We're going to have about a 4-hour episode tonight.
And there was copyright infringement when he stole Obama's line about being
you want to talk about copyright infringement? Let's talk about Biden.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't actually.
He got in trouble in college for plagiarizing.
Oh my God, in college, that was...
Oh, but when they want to bring stuff up from the past, it's okay. Oh,
this is literally, this is from 1 week ago.
Yeah, well.
This is from 1 week ago, not that far back.
But it's besides the point.
I remember the college paper thing when he was running the first time. Did you say but this is different? But this is different.
And that's going in the episode. She's sorry, everybody, in case y'all couldn't understand it.
I'm going to have to mute my audio just to make sure that Marissa's laugh comes through. Because Karl delivered the perfect laugh line, the punchline, I guess.
Punchline, and she laughed at the right time.
She nailed it, and Scott's talking over it.
Yeah, well, she's reading a book, so
I got to work on my timing.
She's reading some of her smut. I know it. Women.
All right. Well, until next time, everybody, we really appreciate you
tuning in
and welcoming us back
and watching us on our new platform of YouTube as well and TikTok. Stay tuned for the TikTok. I'm gonna work on that one.
Great. This entire conversation will be turned into a bunch of little 30-second clips. Try to follow along. They'll all be out of order.
No, actually, you can make them longer. I don't know how, but I watched some of them that are like 45 minutes long. I'm like, okay, that's enough.
A 45-minute TikTok?
No, not that long, but there's some that are like 3-4 minutes long, and I'm just like, stop it.
Yeah, when they get over 30 seconds, I'm like, where's this going?
Yeah.
Is he going to fall?
Oh, wait a minute.
Is the dog going to push him in the pool? Is that what's going to happen? I shouldn't be waiting 30 seconds for this.
So you have watched it?
Oh, I've been on TikTok. Okay. They're doing the same thing on Facebook and Instagram. They're trying to do what TikTok does. So they show you all these random short videos from people you don't know because they're trying to cut into TikTok's dominance.
I will say, Chris Shiflett, Foo Fighters lead guitarist, I've had interaction with him on TikTok. I was happy. I'm like, holy shit, it's Chris Shiflett. He responded to me.
That's how Twitter used to be before it. Well, I guess it doesn't exist anymore. But if you would get a like if you're commenting on a celebrity or some important figure, a blue check person, and they acknowledged your comment, or even better yet, replied to it, it was like, It never goes the other way. We just watch them all the time. I'm getting acknowledged from a blue check mark. Oh my God. And then I had to take a moment and be like, okay, why am I shouldn't be getting my satisfaction from acknowledgement on a social media platform.
No, but I see the excitement of it because it makes them more human to you. Like they're not necessarily untouchable.
That's a whole other, here's another episode. Celebrity in general. It's just such a weird concept. I mean,
since you and I have become celebrities, I've struggled a little bit, but I think I'm holding it down pretty well.
You are.
I mean, we've been celebrities since 1997.
Still a man of the people.
I mean, we disappeared for a while. We made a comeback, kind of like Jason Bateman.
Yeah. So, he's got a podcast, but we're not going to talk about it because that's competition.
Have you watched it?
Well, they have the shows on HBO.
Yes.
Smartless. Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
God, it's so good.
Oh boy. Media that cuts across state and party lines. We embrace it. Conservatives and liberals together forever. Agreeing on a new direction forward.
Building back America.
Yeah.
Build back better.
We're making America great by building back better.
Again.
Yep.
See, we combined both slogans. See, people? We know what we're doing.
That's all it took to bring people together. You just need to make a poster that has both slogans on it.
With our pictures.
Yeah. and don't scapegoat immigrants. And then, like, I think we're all great.
Randall Blackwell, 2024.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Check back maybe next week, maybe the week after. Who knows? We'll be back at some point, and we'll have a whole nother conversation for you.
No words of encouragement from Karl tonight. I don't have anything.
Theme music to be determined. Bye. All right, let's stop this.